We just mentioned that Bashar al-Assad attempted some genuine reforms. He was heavily influenced by his wife, who was well liked by the Western media, especially in the United States. It looked promising, especially to the neocons in the United States, that maybe he was making baby steps towards democracy. Now, he tried some modest economic reforms to diversify the economy, not dependent on oil, allow some political expression. But in the meantime, Syria had taken over a good part of Lebanon. After all, they had claims to it. Now, Syria and Lebanon had been part, well, at one piece before France split the two of them. They had claims to it, legitimate claims. And they were also there because Israel had invaded in 1982 to get rid of Arafat, which they succeeded in doing, but they overreached and went all the way to Beirut, and this led to the rise of Hezbollah, which eventually succeeded in pushing Israel out for good out of Lebanon. But our point is that at this point in Lebanon, Syria had put as many as 14,000 troops there. So of course they're going to try and influence politics there, and to the point where significant political opposition just might meet with fatal consequences. And what really began to lead to the unraveling that we see today is when the former Prime Minister of Lebanon was blown to smithereens in a car bomb in 2005. Everyone assumed that had to have been done by Syrian operatives. We now know that's pretty much true. This led to what came to be called the Cedar Revolution. Syria was pressured to remove all of its troops from Lebanon in 2005. But in the meantime, while Syria was carrying out these actions, the Bush administration placed sanctions on Assad for its actions in Lebanon. Assad responded to this by reaching out to Iran for support. Now, this was not an entirely natural alliance. The Alawites were Shia, but a branch of it that originally Iran didn't really think was especially Shia. But in these circumstances, they were willing to work together, especially to keep any Sunni power coming back. Both had been strong supporters of Hamas. In fact, Hamas's political leaders were in Damascus. Both were supporters of Hezbollah. So there begins to develop strong connections. At the same time, Iran is doing this. Iran is beginning to develop its nuclear program because of the American invasion in Iraq, and they felt threatened by that. And so for self-protection, they began to develop their nuclear program. In 2008, Syria and Israel began actual peace talks mediated by Turkey, but that's because Israel bombed the daylights out of what was a nuclear reactor in Syria. And the talks were called off because Israel attacks Hamas, because Hamas attacked Israel in 2010.